Everybody, how you doing? Woo! Well, that's good. You're listening to PHLY Flyers postgame, brought to you by Mortgage CS. We'll tell you a little bit more about them later in the show. But my name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the evening. Joining me tonight, following a resounding victory for the Philadelphia Flyers, is Philadelphia's #1 hockey beat reporter. It is Charlie O'Connor. Chuck, no Sean Couturier. No dry guy, the fly guy.
Dry guy, the fly guy.
That's something I'm going to start saying to see if anyone else does it.
Okay. You got to workshop it.
Now, Sam Ersson's been great, but Carter Hart, the #1. So you're back up in net, 11 forwards, back end of a back-to-back on the road against the team with the best points percentage in the NHL. Doc Rivers crying over the scheduled loss. Flyers win with a 2-0 shutout over the Winnipeg Jets in Winnipeg. I mean, where do we even start with this one? That was one, it was going to take a full team effort. Now, Ersson was phenomenal again, but it was so much more than that tonight. I mean, Cam Atkinson coming out of a, was it 26-game goalless drought? Yeah. He hasn't scored since, I believe, November 11th.
Correct.
Like, 2 tonight, had a bunch of scoring chances, was all over the place. I was going nuts. I wanted him to get that empty netter to finish off what would have been a natty hattie, but he didn't. But the Flyers end up putting it away anyway. Let's start with Cam Atkinson.
All right.
A dude hasn't scored, like Brian Boucher said during the broadcast, in a lifetime when he picked him for his player of the game. 2 goals tonight. Connor Hellebuyck's been great for the Jets this year. It was going to take a little something special. You know, we know the Flyers have trouble scoring. That's their Achilles heel this year. Only 2 tonight, but both by the guy who basically can't score since the third week of the season or whatever it was. What did you see out of Cam tonight, and could this be maybe a resurgence?
I don't know if I'll say it's definitely going to lead to a resurgence. That said, he was snake bitten, especially over this last stretch, because I feel like after they scratched him, he came back and he was back to creating scoring chances. He was back to playing well by the eye test. He just wasn't able to finish on all the chances he was creating. So he was snake bitten for a while. Maybe now he's just due for some good bounces, for some good luck. I mean, the first goal was more just him. The second goal, he's in front of the net. The puck bounces to him. And you still have to put it in. You still have to be in the right spot. You have to be in that high danger area. And then you have to actually get the puck in the net. But that's the kind of bounce that, a week ago, that puck probably goes high and wide, that shot. And Cam Atkinson never has the opportunity to poke in a rebound because he's in the right spot. So I do think it's possible that he could get some good luck because he's had such bad luck over the last month and a half. I do think that one great thing about this goal, and we talked about it last night on the postgame show about Tyson Forrester's goal, and that was the goal that took them from being down 3-1 to 3-2. And I said that I felt like it wasn't even just that he cut the lead to 1. It was that it was Forrester. It was that everyone on that bench was probably extra excited because they all saw how frustrated he had been, the fact that he hadn't been scoring. Ramp that up like times 20 for the Atkinson goal. Like those guys,
everyone loves,
they
a
were
leader
so
on the
happy
team
for him. Yeah. And that was just, not only it was a great that Atkinson just scored, period, because he desperately needed to score. This was the perfect game for him to do it because this is a game that they're coming in, they're tired, they're playing against a rested team, they're playing without Sean Couturier, all the things you said at the start of the show. They needed something to give them a little bit of like an artificial energy boost, and seeing Cam Atkinson literally take the monkey off of his back in his goal celebration. Like, if you can't get up for that, you can't get up for anything. And I think that just infused the Flyers with enough energy, I think, to push them through this game.
He said in his intermission interview, he took the monkey off his back and shot it a couple times. Which I had to make a Harambe reference.
That damn monkey, man.
I'm all about timely references, obviously. No, but I just I feel really good for him because we were talking, last night, and we've we've been talking about Atkinson the last few games, like leading up to that scratching. It was like, okay, first, I keep saying, like, he had 4 or 5 games in a row where he had a breakaway, at least one in every game.
Yep.
It's like, all right, well, one of these is going to go in. And then you just saw the frustration mounting. He starts taking penalties. He's reaching to the point where John Tortorella, his boy, is like, his explanation for scratching him was, I have too much respect for him to allow him to keep going down the road he's going on because his play is getting worse. And this wasn't like, oh, well, if you look at the underlying. No, like you watched Cam Atkinson, you went, oh, he stinks now. Yeah. And then he came back from the scratch, and it was, now he just looks like the guy who's creating these chances again, but the puck can't go in. Maybe at, nearly 35 years of age, the scoring touch has evaporated a bit.
It happens.
Which was kind of surprising just because he had 8 goals in the first 15 games of this season, and then it just went away. Yeah. Now, maybe that was, we talk about like, oh, the power play. Well, it's just not going to be 10%, you know?
They're going to get some bounces eventually.
Maybe 8 goals in 15 games. It was like, and now 10 through 43 is about where he should be. The funniest thing, though, is now he is tied for 4th on the team in goals.
That's very
He's
funny.
got 10 along with Sean Couturier. We have TK at 21, Tippett at 15, Farabee 14, and then Coots and Atkinson both at 10. Like, that's kind of funny, but
it is funny.
I'm just happy for him. He deserves, like, he's working his ass off out there. It's the play started to dip. He got the little rest, the little wake-up call, whatever it was, and then it came back. At least the effort came back. The higher level of play came back, and he just couldn't execute around the net. And tonight you finally see it. Very happy for him. All that said, as soon as Noah Cates is healthy, let's trade him. Like, his value's never going to be higher.
Oh, my God.
I've said all along, this is if they're going to be able to move him, it's probably an off-season.
It's an off-season.
It's a draft trade. Yeah. It's a summer trade.
Or, and I hate to say
this.
Or
he comes back.
Yeah, not even that. I hate to say this. Coming
or they buy him
or
out.
they buy him out.
Yeah.
He obviously just had a 2-goal game. I don't want to be talking negatively about Cam Atkinson. But, look, it's an option. Yeah. It's a possibility. We'll see how the rest of the season goes. But at the very least, what this game does for Atkinson is it opens the possibility up that he could have a good second half. Because after you don't score for 27 games, the only questions that you can have watching him are, oh boy, is he cooked? And he might be cooked, but at least now you can say, maybe this is the season turning point for him. Maybe. And that's, for a 35-year-old who missed an entire season with an injury that no one could diagnose, to the point he was like, I'm going home. Like, I guess you can't ask for much more, but I am just happy for him because he's a dude who, I just enjoy watching. Yeah, like shorthanded goals, the breakaway, like the when
rush.
He's playing well, he's a really fun player to watch.
He's fun to watch when he's playing well, and at least maybe we'll get some of that. And I don't want to see a guy like dying out there. Like, I don't want to be like, oh, he's just hanging on, huh? Like, that's depressing to watch for anyone.
It's a bummer.
If it ever happens to Crosby, that would be nice, but it doesn't seem like it's ever going to.
Even if it happens to Crosby, it'll never happen to Crosby against the Flyers.
No,
he'll be bad against every other team except for the Flyers.
No, he'll look like Mario against the Flyers, and he'll be -8 against everyone else.
Exactly.
Because that's the way it goes. But so I guess the other star of tonight's game, not to give away Charlie's 3 stars, we'll get to them later.
I'm pretty sure you can guess 2 of the 3. Pretty obvious.
Sam Ersson, man.
Oh, man.
What did he end up with? Like 34 saves tonight. I had the box in front of me, and now it's gone.
35 saves.
35 saves. So 35 out of 35. In his 15 games prior to tonight, he had a .924 save percentage. He was .366 at .396. So you got to believe that went up a little bit tonight. Oh, yeah. So he's around the .925, .930 range. Basically since his second start of the season. His first 3 appearances were garbage, and since then he's been absolutely freaking terrific. And I got to shout out my boy Davey B. He texts me around the third period, the beginning of the third tonight, and just goes, "Yo, is Ersson better than Hart?" And I sent him a screenshot of
an interesting question.
I sent him a screenshot of the outline, and I was like, "That's legitimately probably the major topic of tonight." And again, no need to like get ahead of ourselves. We can just enjoy the moment. Like, they did just beat the team that's probably going to win the President's Trophy. Like
Well,
they're
they're up
leading.
there.
They have awesome goaltending. They're leading the league in points percentage. There's a bunch of good teams, but they've been awesome all year. They're leading they're ahead of Colorado in the standings.
Yeah.
Like, they're really freaking good. Is he better than Carter Hart?
I don't know, but it's real close. It's at the very least, it's real close. I looked up the numbers you talked about, since those first 3 games. It's funny how like one big shutout can just jack your numbers.
35 saves.
Because he going into this game, he had a 903 save percentage. Now after this game, adding in the 35 saves on 35 shots, he's up to 910.
There you go.
So
I was hoping you would do the math because I can't.
Bump up 7 points to Sam Ersson save percentage. Look,
but you also like mathematically those 2 horrible starts.
Yeah,
like he's had a 924 since then.
Yeah.
But he's at 903.
I mean, I would say that right now, at this moment, he is playing better than Carter Hart. I do not know if he is true talent, a better goalie than Carter Hart, but I think he is playing better than Carter Hart right now.
Would you grant me perhaps true talent and maybe if we're going to project what their career averages are going to be? Maybe Carter Hart better. Ceiling, though, because he's got the athleticism, clearly, like, he's got as many shutouts this season. It's pretty close to, like, Carter Hart's career shutout. And, like, granted, Carter Hart's been playing behind the Flyers' defense his whole career, so
that's true.
It's hard to... Yeah. But Ersson, been really good a lot this year. Maybe the higher ceiling, like, when he's at his best, he's going to be this dude who you can't score on. But he also might have the lows that we saw earlier in this season where Hart may be steadier and career average a little better. Would you grant me that?
Maybe. I think the
I know it's 16 games.
Like, and I don't even want to necessarily say that Ersson is this athletic freak. Like the Flyers have an athletic freak.
He's not Felix Sandstrom
in their system. Yeah. It's not even Felix Sandstrom. It's Kolosov over in Russia. He's the athletic freak they have in the system who can make these truly incredible stops. Like he's going to be fun when he comes over here. Ersson he might be a little bit more athletic than Hart. I think it maybe shows up in the shootouts. It shows up in breakaways because that is clearly not a strength of Hart's game. To me, the 2 things he has on Hart is number 1, shootouts, breakaways. Clearly big advantage Ersson. Number 2, and this is more of an intangible, nebulous thing, but I'm kind of ready to say it. I think he might be just mentally tougher than Hart in the sense that I never feel like Ersson has lost control of the situation. I don't see any panic in Ersson's game. I do see panic sometimes in Hart's game. And I'm not saying
if Hart loses his net, he doesn't get it back.
Yeah, I mean, Hart drops his stick a fair amount. I'm not saying most goalies are bad at playing the puck. Hart, when he messes up playing the puck, he messes up bad.
Like he might play it into his own net.
Like when Ersson gives up a bad goal, which does happen, I don't worry that it's going to turn into 3 bad goals. Whereas with Hart, I've seen it. I mean, I know, and I hate to ding him for this because it was a rough time for everyone, the 2021 season when he basically was going through like depression due to the pandemic and stuff. But the fact of the matter is that we've seen Carter Hart melt down before.
Yes.
We have not seen Sam Ersson melt down. And Sam Ersson, while you can say that, like Hart's been playing on some really bad teams, and that's true, Ersson's played for some bad teams too. Not necessarily here, but in Sweden. Like, he played for a really, really awful Brynäs team and was the only reason why they won games. So he's used to dealing with, like, no support in front of him and still finding a way to keep his head on straight and not fall apart. Whereas Hart, on multiple occasions, and he's admitted this to me, that during the rough times, he would let the team's poor play in front of him get to him and allow it to infect his play, especially late in seasons. I don't think that's a thing for Ersson. I think Ersson is just kind of unflappable. And while I think that there's a good chance, I think Carter Hart is definitely has superior technique to Ersson because there aren't many goalies that have better technique than Carter Hart. He is so sound, he's a goalie coach's dream. But Ersson just strikes me as unflappable in a way that I don't think Carter Hart is. And I'm not even saying that as an insult to Hart. It's more pointing out just how unflappable Ersson seems to be. It's a unique characteristic that he seems to have.
And all this said about Ersson, very high on the guy. Like, my next thing is going to be about, like, can they even really afford to give Carter Hart the sort of commitment that they might have to this summer to keep him?
That's the big thing.
That's the thing. We're talking about right now an 18 start sample size for Samuel Ersson.
It's small.
For comparison's sake, Carter Hart in his rookie year where they brought him up, he made 31 starts, 31 total appearances. 19 appearances thus far for Ersson. Lots of unknowns.
Oh, yeah.
Plenty of variables that have yet to be discovered.
It's always possible that once the league has more tape on Ersson, they will discover his weaknesses the same way they've discovered Hart's weaknesses and take advantage of them. That's very possible. I do think, though, we're getting to a point where, and this is something that doesn't have to be fully evaluated until the end of the year. The Flyers don't need to make a decision on Carter Hart until the offseason. But it's reasonable to point out that Carter Hart is going to require a raise.
Considerable raise.
And if it's not even necessarily for me, like, is Ersson better than Hart? For me, it's if Ersson is about as good as Hart, then you kind of have to go Ersson because he's cheaper, he's a year younger, and he doesn't have a massive scandal hanging over his head.
And just like, and listen, goaltending is voodoo. You can't let a 16, 18 game sample size like dictate the direction of your franchise.
True.
But we're talking about like, okay, well, Owen Tippett is going to be hopefully like a middle-class guy somewhere between 5 and 7. Like, you get him at 5.5, 6. That would be pretty dope, I think. Like, you have Farabee signed up. You have Sanheim signed up. You have a bunch of guys in that little middle range there.
Yeah.
Can you even afford to make the sort of commitment to Carter Hart? Like, they don't have the superstar yet. I know it's a long shot, but like, I keep thinking about, well, how do they give Elias Pettersson 12, 13? I know, like, that's just the example I'm using.
I know.
But like, if they're unable
it's a good bit for
if
you.
they're unable to go and draft like the definite 1C, okay, plug him next to Michkov, you throw Konechny with him, boom, first line solved. If you're unable to draft that guy, especially considering like team's pretty good right now, you know? Like, you're going to have to go buy someone to play that position. How do you do it if you're paying all these middle-class guys as well as a goalie when you look around the league and it's like, yeah, you need a goalie to win in the playoffs, but he needs to play at an elite level. He doesn't need to be an elite goalie, though.
Yeah.
He just needs to have a really good 6 weeks.
Yeah. You need a good goalie who has the ability to play great over a, great month of the year.
And that is exactly what we're seeing out of Samuel Ersson right now.
Ersson might be that guy. And I think, too, like, you have to also account for the fact that the Flyers have a good goalie pipeline. Like, you have Ersson, who's looking legitimately like a good starter at the NHL level. You have Kolosov. You drafted Bjarnason. Like, you have guys. You drafted the Russian they drafted this year. I honestly, I'm going to butcher his name, so I'm not even going to bother saying it. It starts with a Z.
Zavragan?
Yeah. I'm going to butcher butcher the pronunciation, so
I'm
not even
definitely
going to
not
say.
right. So.
They have a good pipeline, and it almost makes you think, like, why would you commit the money it's going to require you to commit to Carter Hart when you have a guy in Ersson who might be just as good? And then even if he turns out he's not just as good, you have Kolosov coming over next year. Like, you have guys. Is it intelligent for you to give $7+ million a year to Carter Hart and have that wrapped up in your cap? And the fact that it's a goalie, because goalies, number one, they're voodoo, but number two, they can break down. And giving a goalie a 6, 7, 8 year contract is scary. It's a real risk. And with Ersson, you can kind of wait to see how this plays out and get him for cheaper in the short term. And maybe then you have to make a decision on him in 2-3 years. And maybe then you make the decision that Kolosov's better. Like, but this is what good teams have to do. They have to make tough decisions in terms of staying under the cap and maximizing the talent they have on hand. The real bummer about it for the Flyers with this situation is that they are in a really tough spot with Hart with this scandal.
Because you can't trade him.
Because you can't. I mean, maybe you
can,
could,
but
maybe you could.
You're
but
hoping
maybe
for the big return.
Yeah, like some people on Twitter seem to talk about like, oh, we'll just trade Hart. Like, it really isn't that simple. no one is going to give you anything of serious value while no one knows if he was involved in Hockey Canada or not. It's just not going to happen.
I just wonder, like, you're not allowed, there's only certain things you're allowed to structure conditional deals around now. Like a guy re-signing, you're not allowed to structure a conditional trade around. You can do the like, well, if you make the second round, you get this. If you make the conference final, you get this. So I don't know, but like, could you be like, okay, if he gets suspended, give us a third. If he doesn't, or like
I do not think you could do that.
Is there like a games played?
Games played,
Like,
possibly.
That's like obviously like, oh well, if he's the subject of this major scale, like no, I don't think you could structure it that way.
But the problem is that you can't really use bonuses unless the guy's old. The guy's old or young. They're the only. That's the CBA
in terms of conditioning the trade. I know you can't do the bonus contracts, but just like, what can you do? Listen, watching,
it's interesting.
I was laughing when you were talking because I just came up with this good segue. Watching Samuel Ersson tonight, that puck must have looked absolutely gigantic. I bet you it looked the size of a bagel from Bagels & Co.
Hell yeah.
That's right. Bagels & Company bagel. Bagels & Company bagel.
Bagels &
Company baby. Bagels & Co. Brooklyn-style bagels made with Philly love. Absolutely gigantic. The biggest bagels in Philly and a large variety, usually 15 to 20 different types to choose from. Seasonal bagels as well. You saw me eat the Christmas one when they were our presenting sponsor at Reading Terminal Market. And when you have that many kinds of bagels, you need a ton of cream cheese options. You never know what people are going to want, what they're going to want to match with everything. You get a big tray. You have plenty of options for everybody. Usually about 30 different types of cream cheese and schmears available. They have Eagles cream cheese. They have 76ers cream cheese. They did a Phillies promotion during the fall, during the Red October. Anything you want, basically, when it comes to bagels, Bagels & Co. is your place. And I think most importantly for everyone at this time of year, you know, we're just recovering from the holidays. Maybe you have spent way more on wrestling tickets coming up this spring than you're comfortable spending. It's an affordable brand. A lot of food for cheap. So for the best Brooklyn-style bagels made right here in Philly, head to thebagelsandco.com/store-locator to find the closest Bagels & Co. near you. That's thebagelsandco.com. Check out the store locator. Find one near you. You will not be disappointed in their offerings. So with this goalie situation, I mean, it's a good problem to have.
It's a really good problem to have in the short term.
It's a good problem to have, especially for, I mean, team building going forward. I mean, for us, it's awesome because we have a bunch of different conversations we can have about it. But again, this team just beat the, by record, best team in the league, back end of a back-to-back, missing Sean Couturier, missing Jamie Drysdale. We have to just be like, this is a good team now, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's no more, all right, well, if they fall off, I mean, they could. But that part of the conversation is like kind of back burner at this point. And if you look at the standings, I know a lot of people, you know, like the Rangers got off to such a start. It was like,
they're struggling now.
Oh, well, you know, they're kind of just running away with the division.
They're going through a dip.
Now, they have 2 games in hand on the Flyers and 1 on Carolina. But they're a game. They're 2 points ahead of the Flyers, 1 ahead of the Hurricanes. Like the top of the Metro Division is, I don't want to say for the taking, but it's there for the taking, right? Like, the Philadelphia Flyers could be your 23-24 Metro Division champions. This is not out of the realm of, I know, Charlie.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen. I also tweeted today that tonight is a scheduled loss. I never thought they were going to win this many. They're at 23 wins now. I didn't think they were going to win this many games all season. I thought this was about where they were going to be. We have 40 games left, 39 games left. Like, this team's good. The ceiling is high.
Yeah, I'm
when you have goaltending, your ceiling is high.
I'm still not there. I still am of the opinion.
Has a rebuilding team ever won the Stanley Cup?
Oh my God!
An expansion team had never won before. You know, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, Vegas did get to the Cup final that year.
I meant the Flyers, but yeah, Vegas did it too.
Yeah, I wouldn't quite say they were rebuilding, but they were just starting, and they still got to the Cup final. So if they can do it, I guess anything literally can happen.
There's no they were just building.
Yeah, they were just building.
There was a new team.
Exactly. Look, I'm not there yet. yet. I still am of the opinion that by the end of this, they will miss the playoffs. But this is fun. And they're playing well. Like, they just went into Winnipeg and beat a rested Winnipeg team without Sean Couturier.
Without their
Yeah,
1C,
you can't
and at
argue with
worst,
that.
they're 2D. Like, that's pretty damn good.
And really, I mean, yeah, in the third period, they looked exhausted. So the overall numbers of this game are not going to look great for the Flyers. Like, they lose the expected goals battle, they lose the scoring chance battle, whatnot. But the first half of this game, when they did have their legs,
They were killing
they
them.
outplayed the Jets. They were substantially better than the Jets. They were the better team. And it's like, well, shit, if they wouldn't have been in the second game of a back-to-back against a rested team, would they have just done that the whole game?
Shots were like 29-17 at one point. I know that doesn't tell the whole story, but it tells a lot of it. Like, they were almost double the amount of shots on goal, like halfway through the game. That's pretty good. I'm just saying, the great X factor is always goaltending. It certainly seems like the Flyers have it in one, if not two, of their guys.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but I don't think, like, I don't want to overstate how good Hart and Ersson are. I think right now the Flyers have two good goalies. Ersson has a 9-10 save percentage. Hart's, I think, at like 9-12 or something.
It's
like,
dipped a bit.
It's dipped. But my point is like, it's not as if I'm excited about what Sam Ersson's done. I'm excited with the season that Carter Hart is having. It's not like they have two Connor Hellebucks.
No,
they have two good goalies, and that's great, and it's really good for this team in the short term and probably the long term as well. But I don't look at Ersson and Hart and say, like, oh, man, they have two, like, stone-cold studs. It's just, no, they have two good goalies, and that's really cool.
They do, and I'm just looking around the league at some teams that came in with high expectations that to this point have underachieved or been just okay, and it's a lot of, if they could get a save, they'd be really good. The Flyers are getting the saves.
Yeah.
Like, are they getting absolute elite goaltending? Maybe not. But they're stopping the pucks they need to stop.
Yeah, 100%.
They are in basically every game.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to say a team doesn't have a high ceiling when every game is almost a coin flip. Like, we were talking about the overtime stat last night. What was it? Like 13 of their last 27 had gone to OT.
Yeah,
like,
now it's 13 of 27. It was 13 of 26.
Yes, it was legitimately 50% after last night.
Yeah.
Like, when you're in that many one-goal games, when you're competing on a nightly basis, when your games come down to one or two bounces, and you are the team that works your ass off, you have a high ceiling to me. Are they going to win the cup? Are they going to go to the Final Four? That's really hard to say because we still do have the expectations of everyone telling us, including the coach, struggles are coming, we're rebuilding. But watching them every single night, I don't know, man. They just played back-to-back games with 11 forwards and beat up on like a really good team in the second game. That's all.
One thing that is very funny to me, like, this year, if any year, should remind us, like, just ignore the results of the Disney on Ice trip.
Yeah.
Because, like, before that, they were doing great. Then Disney on Ice, they stink. They come back, and now they're doing great again. For whatever reason, that trip, this team just is incapable of doing well on.
The conversation during and immediately after that trip was a lot of, like, all right, well, now let's see. Now that other teams are turning it on, it's that second half push. Let's see what they really are. This thing might be turning into a pumpkin. And since that trip ended, they're right back to looking like that team.
Yeah, exactly.
So who the hell knows? Who the hell knows with them? I did ask you this question, and I don't want to talk a bunch of a bunch about negative stuff when they've just won 2 in a row. Yeah. It was fun, but why the hell didn't they bring an extra forward on this trip? Now, they brought Noah Cates, but that's like bringing a trainer. He's not active.
He's not available.
He's hurt. Why didn't they just bring an extra forward?
Well, I think the way they looked at it was they went on this trip assuming that every single game they were going to go 11-7. And look, should they have brought a 13th forward? I don't know, maybe. I guess my thing is, like, you seem very fixated on the idea that 11 forwards is a bad idea. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
I don't, like, small sample, like, micro, no. It's just, like, in the big, like, a game like tonight, if they have 12 forwards, like we see Delorier out there a bunch in the third period when he played 5 minutes last night and has been benched in the third period multiple times this season simply because it's like, well, he's not all that great of a hockey player. If you have a guy who can do a little bit more hockeying, now they're winning these games. So like, I don't know, who am I to say? But it just seems as if you're setting yourself up to like, yeah, now we have a out of gas clunker because like we have to go with 10 guys in the third period of 1-goal games all the time. It seems like a bad idea to do in the long term. On a nightly basis, like last night, I get it. I get what they're doing. It's just like, I don't know. It seems like a bad idea.
I mean, the way they looked at it going into this trip, and I think this is still the way they're looking at it. Obviously, it was a little bit different because Drysdale is sick, wasn't able to play. But the way they were looking at it, and Tort straight up said this after the Drysdale trade, is that, look, Drysdale's going to play. Okay.
Yeah.
We just got him. We want to see him. We want to start teaching him. He's going to be a big part of this in the future. That's the only reason why we prioritize him in the Gauthier deal. But the 6 defensemen in the lineup, none of those guys deserve to come out. So we kind of have to go 7. And I think the way they looked at it going on this trip is, well, we're bringing 8 defensemen on the trip. We're planning to go 11-7 anyway. Why not just expect that regardless of the situation, we're going to go 11-7? Now, yeah, I guess if someone other than Couturier also got hurt, like Couturier's banged up, he misses tonight's game, it's always possible someone else gets hurt, then what are you're going with 10 forwards? No, then you got to fly somebody out there. So maybe the move would have been take Rhett Gardner with you because just in case. But I don't know. I don't think this is that big of a deal because I think they went into this trip convinced that due to the circumstances, they were going to roll with 7 defensemen because none of the main 6 deserved to come out. And Drysdale had to come in because he's Jamie Drysdale.
I feel you. Like, again, this isn't... They won tonight. They just shut a team out, a really, really good team. It's hard to have complaints. It's just like, can they keep doing this? And I guess it's like we said last night, it's going to be a weird numbers crunch until we get closer to the deadline and the roster starts to take more of a sensical shape because they're able to move a Sean Walker. And now suddenly, okay, let's go with 6 defensemen and let's call a guy up because, okay, he seems to, like Samu Tuamala, looks like he's pretty much cooked in the AHL. Let's bring him up. He's done, you know?
Yeah. And in fairness, this does get a little, well, the 11-4s thing gets complicated in another way, but when Noah Cates gets back, then they will have 13 healthy forwards, and then they could go 12 forwards if they want to. Now, whether they actually will or not, we'll see, because I don't know how they're going to evaluate the defense. I don't know what defenseman they'd even pull out at this point if Zamula keeps playing pretty well, which thought he had another solid game tonight. But when Cates comes back, then they don't have this problem anymore where if Couturier misses a game or if somebody misses a game, they suddenly don't have enough forwards to roll a full 12. Once Cates is back, they'll be able to do that, and I think he will be back probably within the week.
I want to talk to you about the power play in just a second, but first, got to talk to you about Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills. I can see all of my subscriptions in one place, and if I see something I don't want, I can cancel with just a tap. I never have to get on the phone with customer service, which is a dream come true for me. And they'll even try to get you a refund for the last couple of months of wasted money and negotiate to lower your bills for you by up to 20%. All you have to do is take a picture of your bill, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has helped save its members an average of $720 a year with over 500 million in canceled subscriptions. You're thinking, oh, well, New Japan World, what's that, $9 a month? If I forget to cancel it after Wrestle Kingdom, I'll be fine. I can live without the 900 yen. No, you'll forget for months at a time, and suddenly it's $100 down the drain. I saw it today. I was like, oh, damn, that was 2 weeks ago. I need to cancel this. Thank you, Rocket Money. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/PHLY. That's rocketmoney.com/PHLY. rocketmoney.com/PHLY. I always am hoping it's the right camera, but JP's got me, so that's huge.
Hell yeah.
So this power play, dude, it's 5 in a row now. They said it was the first prior to the 5th goal in 5 games. They said the 4 in a row as of last night was the first time they've done that in 2 years. I assume the first time they've done it since Claude Giroux was on the team.
Yeah.
Now they're at 5 games in a row. I know I asked you, is it just regression? It seems as if they actually have a strategy that works for this group. Like, I know during the Dave Haxtell era, we made a ton of issue about the low to high.
Mhm.
Like, everything comes from the point, and you just hope to make a scrum in front. But with what this team is and how they score goals, or don't a lot of the time, like last night was the first time they scored 4 in a while, only 2 tonight, and it was both by a guy who doesn't score,
Yeah, right.
It seems like they found a little something, getting it back to the point, getting a shot, and getting traffic in front. It's very basic hockey. It's very simplified, but it's working for them right now.
Yeah, I think what's going on is 2 separate things. Number one, they fixed the things that like needed to be fixed for them,
direction
for them to even get some good fortune. The entries are better. They're actually moving the puck around well. They get in formation. They're passing well. They're decisive with the puck. Those are the things that, like, when we talked about this power play, we never expected it to be good, but it shouldn't be this bad. Those are the things that, like, coaching needed to get this team better at, because, like, you have to be able to pass. These guys can score at 5-on-5. How can they not, like, complete an easy pass on the friggin' power play when you have one extra guy? They fixed those problems. Their entries are pretty good now. They move the puck around the horn pretty well. I agree with you that they have found a strategy that can regularly produce shots and chances, which is a very basic strategy. It is basically just get pucks on net and hope we get bounces and hope we can score on rebounds and stuff like that. They're not going to have the kind of, like, I'm thinking back to that goal that the Penguins scored against the Flyers, where it was just like 2 straight amazing passes and then guy has a slam dunk in front. The Flyers can't do that.
They've been scoring those slam dunk goals like that for 20 years.
But the Flyers don't have the ability to score those kinds of goals. And I think they've all finally accepted that they can't score those goals, so they have to score greasy goals, which is exactly the goal that Cam Atkinson got today. You have a shot from the point, rebound, he's in front, pops it in. That's how the Flyers have to score. The problem with that strategy is it's a strategy where you're going to go through long stretches where you don't score, because a lot of it is dependent upon getting good bounces, upon that one screen being in the exact right spot when the shot is released. So you're going to go through stretches where you don't score. However, you're also going to create a lot of shots and a lot of chances because you have one more guy than the other team, and because it's the power play. Like, if you're getting pucks on that, you're going to have opportunities to pop in rebounds. They're getting those opportunities now, and they're finally getting some bounces. Like, I think that's the big thing, is that they fixed the structural issues for the most part, and now they're getting a good run of bounces by playing a relatively basic strategy. Again, the ceiling of the power play, it's not score every night. This is a hot streak. The ceiling is probably like somewhere in like that 15 to 18% range, which ain't great, but that's a hell of a lot better than 9%.
No, and that's like, I don't need them to be really good. It would be nice.
Yeah.
But like, if they're at 15 to 18, that dramatically increases their chances of making the playoffs.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, they were in playoff position at 9-10. We're talking like about going from like 2.5 goals a game to 2.75. That's at least something. It's at least something. And to your point, like, we know they don't have the high-end talent. They also don't have, like, for this strategy, the net front specialists, the Leclerc, the Knuble, the Simmons. Like, they don't have that guy either. And so maybe if this is your strategy and you have one of those dudes, it's like, yeah, we can be at 22%. They don't have that either.
Yeah.
So maybe someone can turn into it, but the dudes who are candidates are like young, and that takes some learning.
There's a reason why I said a month ago, basically all season, that like there's no way they're going to finish the year at a 10% power play. No one finishes the year at a 10% power play. They're going to have a run where things start breaking their way for a while. This is that run. Things are breaking their way on the power play. And that's not to minimize the legitimate improvements they've made to the power play. They have, as I said.
It's twofold, like you said.
As I've said, the entries are better. The passing is better. They actually seem like they have a plan, which is a dramatic improvement from where they were a month ago. But I still think this ceiling is limited by the fact that they can't score the kinds of goals that Pittsburgh scored against them earlier this week.
We talked quite a bit last night about the Bobby Brink situation. They sit him in Minnesota. He draws back into the lineup tonight. I wonder if that would have been the case if Sean Couturier could have played. Or maybe they take out Delorier, whatever it might be. He comes in, no goals, no assists, 2 hits, 3 shots on goal, 948. It looks as if only Nick Delorier played less than him at 935. While I thought it was disappointing and a little shitty that he did not play last night in his hometown, he's not exactly standing out there. Yeah. I wouldn't say he's invisible. I noticed him a couple of times.
Yeah, I did too.
But he's not doing a ton.
What I do wonder, and I kind of want to ask you this question. When Noah Cates comes back, which presumably is going to be next week, do you think they send Bobby Brink down?
That's a great question. Now, it was just his reasoning for the scratch. And it's like, well, he's not playing his hometown. And Tortorella's like, listen, he doesn't have a cemented spot in the NHL. Yeah. It was a surprise to all of us that he made the team. I mean, he had a great camp.
He did have a fantastic camp.
If Forster was going to have the not great camp and still make the team like he did, you had to have Bobby make the team, considering he tore it up in the preseason. He was really, really good. I do wonder if they're going to send him down there. It would be, again, like the scratching the other night, disappointing, but somewhat understandable. Like, he has not been very good. And this is, I realize the coach has his biases. It is, though, supposed to be a meritocracy. I would like to see somebody else brought up. Now, maybe it's someone who doesn't play every single night. Maybe they get some sort of rotation going. I know we always joke about Frost. He had an assist tonight, and he's been pretty damn good since he was last scratched. Like, Morgan Frost has been legitimately pretty good. I wouldn't say he's been awesome.
Yeah, he's been fine.
He hasn't looked like the guy
I thought he had a good game tonight.
Yeah,
I liked his game.
He drew that penalty, kept with the puck, was able to make a pass.
He was skating really well tonight.
He's been, I don't know, as good as he was in those final 55 last year, but he's been definitely worth a roster spot to this point.
Absolutely.
That's a great question.
I'm looking at what Brink has done.
I feel like he's paved the way for it by saying he doesn't have a cemented spot in the NHL. That's my
but not even that
answer to your question.
Since the start of January, he has 0 points in 2024. 3 games where he had less than 10 minutes.
10 minutes, yeah.
And he's been scratched once. You do start to wonder, might they look at this and say he's better off playing 18, 19 minutes a night in the AHL rather than getting yo-yoed back and forth from the press box to the lineup in the NHL? I don't know. I truly am not sure. I'm not sure how wedded the Flyers are to having Bobby Brink spend the entire season in the NHL, because I don't think he's been terrible.
No.
He just hasn't he hasn't been impactful.
He's not a liability.
Yeah.
But he's one of those guys, like we said about Morgan Frost, like we've said about Tyson Forster. You can do all the little stuff, and that's great because you need to do it to stay, and especially in John Tortorella's lineup. Yeah. But when you're a top 9 forward, and that's what he's supposed to be a top 6 forward.
Yeah.
You got to produce points. Mm-hmm. And this is, I think, 6 in a row where he hasn't put a point on the board.
Yeah, he hasn't scored a point in 2024.
That's, man, I kind of like the idea, even if he doesn't play. He's on the NHL team. He's learning. He's part of the culture up here. Mm-hmm. Even last year playing hurt, we all know, okay, he put up points, but he wasn't that good. Yeah. But he was putting up points in the AHL. He's had half a season of NHL. I just don't see that as a step forward for him. I don't think it's the end of the world if they send him down. I'm not going to go to Voorhees and hold a picket sign. That's not what I'm not going to go to John Tortorella's house and knock on his door and be like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? Because he could probably whoop my ass. It's not the end of the world, but I don't like it.
Fair.
I think him being part of this thing, even if he's only playing 2/3 of the games, say, that's important for his development. I always say you can't learn to play in the NHL without playing in the NHL. He might have been hurt and sucked last year in the AHL. He also did produce those points. What is another year of American League hockey really going to do for him if ultimately it's like, yo, we need this guy in our middle 6 real bad?
Yeah, and again, these are the tough decisions that the Flyers, the general manager, the coach, that they have to work through. Like I was looking at the comment section. HC basically said, Brink and Farabee were so good together. Once Farabee went up to the first line, Brink's play has suffered. That is true. I do think that they showed real chemistry. However, after watching what Farabee's doing on the first line, I'm starting to wonder, did they have great chemistry, or was Farabee kind of carrying Brink a little bit?
Yeah. No, and that's a lot like we said with the chemistry that we saw developing between Tippett and Frost last year. Again, Frost has been pretty good.
Yeah.
Tippett, man, that dude, again, I don't know if he's going to be a star, but he has all the tools.
Sure does.
If he puts it together, that's going to be sick for the Flyers. Yeah. Way to go, Chuck. Nice trade.
The one good one.
Dude, I'm telling you, we're going to look at him like Ed Wade. It's going to be really, really funny that the dude I hate is, I'm going to have to be like, you did some things. Way to go. Now you did some
things.
You did some awful things, but you did some things okay.
Man.
The Brink situation's something to keep an eye on.
Yes, it is.
Do you think maybe he's just hitting that rookie wall? Like last year, he played hurt. He's didn't play a full season. He's a college guy, so it's we play the weekends, and then that's it. Do you think maybe he's just hitting a rookie wall?
It's possible.
Forster played a full season last year.
And I'm of the opinion, I think Forster, until this week, when I think we've seen him come back to form,
he's getting a second win.
I think Forster hit a bit of a rookie wall for a couple weeks around Christmas. I think that was what happened. He just didn't look as fast. He didn't look like he had, and he's never a fast guy, but he just didn't look like he had the same jump. Now he looks like he has that jump and scored a big goal last night, and he's just looked better. Yeah, maybe Brink is hitting something of a rookie wall, and that's an evaluation that Briere and Torts and the rest of the coaching staff is going to have to decide whether it's true or not. Look, guys slump. Maybe Brink is just in a slump. Maybe he's destined to break out of this in a couple games, and then suddenly it makes no sense at all to send him down. But if he is hitting something of a rookie wall, and the physical toll of playing at the NHL level, he's a small guy, if that's starting to catch up with him, maybe it wouldn't be the worst thing for him to go down to the AHL, not have as demanding of a schedule, not play against guys quite as strong as they are in the NHL, and get it back going down there, and then maybe he gets called back up. I don't know. I'm not sure if they'll send him down. If I had to guess,
Do you expect them to?
If I had to guess, I would say no. I don't think they're going to send him down. But I do think that it is. I'm sure it's something that they are at least thinking about whether that is the right thing for the team, but more importantly, the right thing for Bobby Brink.
If they were to send him down, do you believe there'd be a corresponding recall? Or they would just go with the 12 they have until the inevitable injury and they have to bring either Brink or someone else back.
I would friggin' love it if they gave Tortorella a shot. That would be really cool.
I think he scored again tonight.
Yeah.
He's been really, really good for the fans.
I want to see what he can do. And look,
he got the long-looking camp.
He did get the long-looking camp. Torts has a real high opinion of him. The team really likes him. He's so fast. I would love to see.
Know.
They just added Drysdale, who's a friggin' awesome skater. Tuamala isn't as good of a lateral skater. He might be faster than Drysdale on a straight line. He is a fast player. He's just a guy where when he comes up, people are going to enjoy watching him play. He's fun.
# just skate it.
Just skate it.
That's one of my favorite parts of this of this entire season. The Flyers have quietly assembled a fast team.
Yeah.
And we've been begging for that, I don't know, my whole life.
Yeah.
We've been, it's well, how do we beat the trap? I know, let's get Alexander Day. We've been trying to get fast our whole lives.
Yeah.
We finally have a team that plays fast. So maybe, they're already 2-0 in this road trip. They're looking to get 6 out of 6 points on, what is it, Monday they play next?
Yeah.
Then
was it the battle of the worst power plays in hockey that are both scoring a little bit?
Oh, yeah, I saw today. I didn't even realize it was St. Louis on this trip, and I was like, oh, that's probably going to be fun for Kevin Hayes.
Oh, jeez. I didn't even think of that.
But maybe when they come back home, you're thinking, damn, I want to see this fast-ass team. The best way to do that is getting your tickets with Game Time. Buying tickets to your favorite event shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, I want to do your 3 stars and then maybe some of the first half stuff we talked about doing in case this game became a shit show, which it didn't. It was actually a really exciting, fun game. Before the game, we're both like, listen, this might not be one we really want to spend a ton of time talking about. So let's do like first half evaluations and stuff like that. But it was a fun, good game. So let's get to Charlie O'Connor's 3 stars of the game and then do some first half stuff. Let's lead it off with star number 3.
Star number 3 is John Tortorella's new favorite son, Morgan Frost. Ever since he came into this office and yelled at him, Torts loves him. Morgan Frost, I thought, had a good game. He gets an assist, and I thought on the whole, he was impactful on pretty much all of his shifts. He looked as fast as I've seen him look all season. He was skating with confidence. Like, the thing with Morgan Frost is that for a long time, he was pegged by some scouts as slow. He's never been slow. It's that he liked to play slow. And while he doesn't...
Deliberate.
Yes. He didn't play with pace. He had the ability to play with pace, but a lot of times in juniors and even at the start of his professional career, he didn't play with pace as much as you need to succeed at the NHL level. I thought tonight Morgan Frost played with so much pace. He was flying all over the place. And most importantly, even when the rest of the team was definitely clearly fatigued and sagging in the third, Frost is one of the few guys who's still at his legs. I mean, he had a couple rushes in the third period where you're just like, man, you're not tired at all. Like, you're feeling it. Morgan Frost, I think, not that he had a dominant game, but I think he had a good game. And for that reason, he's my star number 3.
I've liked seeing him confidently carry the puck and not just like, all right, I'm going to weave through the neutral zone because I have some ice. Like, we saw him a couple of times in the offensive zone go, I mean, there's a guy there, but I'm going to try to take it by him. Like, I like that. Guys who are willing to try to stick handle through traffic to make a play. That's something this team is missing in terms of, he's not that high-end skill guy, but you need to at least attempt high-end skill plays sometimes to keep the defense honest.
Agreed.
He's one of the few guys who will do that. I like that pick.
Worth noting, Morgan Frost, second on the forwards in ice time tonight with 19 minutes and 23 seconds behind only Scott Laughton.
19 and a half minutes for Morgan Frost.
I'm telling you, he turned towards his mind around. All he had to do was go in and yell at him one time.
This ends one way, and it's with Morgan Frost wearing a C on his sweater.
Oh, baby. Yes.
All right. While I'm living in fantasy land, let's get to star number 2.
Star number 2, I went back and forth on this, but I think I'm going to go with Cam Atkinson as star number 2. I think great game, 2 goals. Obviously, he scores the only goals of the game. You could very easily justify him as the first star. I put him star number 2 just because of what happened in the third period. But Cam Atkinson, he needed this game so badly. I mean, come on. This is a guy who I almost wonder if he was starting to doubt himself, because you hear from so many people that, he's 34 years old, 34 going on 35, coming off the season where he missed the entire year with an injury. Maybe he just don't got it anymore. And
we said it last night to each other watching the game.
Yeah, it was a concern. And he needed this game so badly. I'm really happy for him. I'm happy that he showed he can still score at the NHL level, that this was a slump, not the end of his ability to score goals with the Flyers. And then obviously just the fact that, I mentioned this earlier in the show, I think the fact that he broke this goalless streak in this game was essential to helping the Flyers get the energy they needed to win a game they probably should have lost given the schedule. I just think it does something for the bench when a guy who you really like, who's struggling, finally breaks through. It just gives you that little bit of an extra oomph. And I think that Cam Atkinson, even just getting the one goal, gave it to him. Then he gets the second goal, and you're just like, oh, man, this guy just he can't stop scoring.
I really, really wanted that third goal for him, but
so close. So
he had
close
a bunch
on that
of
empty
chances.
netter.
He had a few chances. That 190-foot bank play was right there.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
We were talking about how that still would have been a natural hat trick.
It would have been a natty hattie. I really wanted it for him. Came up short, but 2 goals in a game against a really good team after the slump he was on, that's freaking huge. And it was, like you said, I think it was big for momentum in this game. Just a little something extra. What, are we going to lose this after that?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Was it TK who said during the
Snyder game?
During the Snyder game, he's sitting on the bench there's no way we're losing. There's a little bit of that on the bench. We need it for him.
Yeah,
he just gave us something. Let's give him something.
No, this was the Cam Atkinson game.
The Cam Atkinson game.
You can't lose the Cam Atkinson game.
No.
The Eagles lost the Julio Jones game.
Of course they did.
Of course they did, because they're the Eagles. The Flyers did not lose the Cam Atkinson.
All right, let's get to some guys I want to point out. Just talk
But
about.
wait, do I still have to give you my star number 1?
That wasn't star number 1.
That was star number 2.
Oh yeah, star number 1.
Everyone knows who star number 1 is, but I still got to say it. It's Sam Ersson. I'm not saying that Sam Ersson stood on his head in this game. I think the Flyers did a good job defensively in front of him.
Definitely.
However, in that third period, the Jets pretty much had the puck in the Flyers' end the entire period. Yeah. The Flyers were hanging on for dear life, but they played confident because they felt like they had a goalie who was going to stop everything. Sam Ersson, come on. We talked about before the puck dropped on this game, that if the Flyers are going to win, given everything stacked against them, Sam Ersson is going to have to be their best player. Sam Ersson was their best player, and that's why he's my number 1 star.
And he's the number 1 goalie.
Oh.
It's not a controversy. It's just a competition. That's all. Okay. All right, let's get to a couple of guys, few minutes left in the show, that I want to just evaluate the first halves of their season. Mm-hmm. Selfishly, just because I did a bunch on Zamula last night, was hoping he'd be the one to make the power play go tonight, but it was not him. However, I want to talk about Igor Zamula.
Okay.
A dude we came in with, all right, let's see. And that seemed to be a lot of the Flyers' attitude. All right, he's not waiver exempt anymore. Let's throw him in there, see how it goes. He's in a little bit of a rotation to start the year. Emil Andre's getting in there. Mark Stahl's getting in there. Stahl gets injured. Zamula stays in. Andre goes down. We're iffy on Zamula for a lot of the year. Okay, he's been good. He's been bad. Recently, though, things have picked up. How would you evaluate the guy with 4 points, 7 points in his last 11 games?
I'm wondering if it's starting to click for him. I think the fact that he's been able to thrive on the power play, I have to wonder if that's giving him more confidence at 5-on-5, because he's found something he's good at this level. That was the thing. It didn't seem
what was his thing?
It didn't seem like he was good at anything. And I'm thinking back to that that ridiculous Robinson sketch with the chunky, and he's just like, "Figure out what you do.
You had all summer.
You had all summer.
What's your thing?"
Yeah,
no, that's even if Zamula was okay. He made a couple nice plays in this game. He did that. It was what is he in the lineup to accomplish?
Exactly, and I don't think we knew that.
We know what Risto's in there to accomplish.
Yeah.
He's in there because he's fucking big and he's going to hit you. He's gotten better at defense. Travis Sanheim, we know what he's in there to do. Now Jamie Drysdale, it's we know what he's in there to do. What is Zamula's thing? If nothing else, he can run a power play too, probably.
Yeah, I just think that there's something to be said about a player having something that they do well, and then when they go out and they do that thing well, it makes them feel better about everything else. Rasmus Ristolainen, if he has a shift or he just pulverizes somebody, he can go back to the bench with a smile on his face, and he's like, yeah, that's what I'm here for, and I friggin' did it. And I feel like Zamula, the entire first 3 months of this year, didn't have anything. He was just there trying to figure out what he could do and what he couldn't. Now, he's the guy with poise up top on the power play. And now when he has a good power play shift, he can go back to the bench, even if they didn't score. But if he did a good job, and he gets maybe a pat on the back from Rocky Thompson when he goes back to the bench, he can feel good about his game, and then hopefully he can go out there at 5-on-5 and be good at 5-on-5 too. And honestly, over the last, so I looked this up. You mostly looked at points. I looked at the advanced metrics. So since Christmas, 9 games since Christmas, Igor Zamula has a 55.56% expected goal share at 5-on-5. That's pretty darn good. Now, granted, it's in a third pair role. It's not like he's getting tough minutes, but if you're on the third pair, you are expected to win the chance battle because you're getting third pair minutes. And finally, after most of the years Zamula was losing the chance battle, was one of the reasons why I was scared, like, oh God, is this guy even an NHL defenseman? Right now, he looks to me, at least over the last couple weeks, he looks to me like a perfectly solid power play 2 third pair NHL defenseman. Now, could he be more than that? Maybe. But at the very least, I now watch him and I can see what his role could be, even if he doesn't get any further, even if he doesn't develop any further. I see a guy who could have an NHL role. Now, then it's about what can you get more. Maybe he regresses. Maybe this is just a one-time thing. But for the first time, I see a plausible role for Igor Zamula, and that's exciting.
A couple more guys I want to get to. Missed the game tonight. Sean Couturier missed basically a year and 2/3 of games. Has come back. He's played 40 so far this year of the Flyers. 43 games? Right. 10 goals, 29 points. He's a plus 11 on the season for whatever that is worth. He's playing 20 minutes a game. Up to 52.5% in the face-off circle. That was something he was struggling
coming around.
He was struggling a little with early. Looks to me quite a bit like the guy we saw prior to the 2 back surgeries. How would you evaluate the first half of Sean Couturier's season?
It's dramatically exceeded my expectations. And for me, it was just that I was hoping against hope that Sean Couturier was going to come back and still be Sean Couturier, but there was no guarantee. 2 back surgeries. He's over 30 now. Like, guys get worse at this age, even without 2 back surgeries. He had 2 back surgeries. He missed a year and a half. Who knew what he was going to be when he came back? He's come back, and I don't think he's all the way there. I think he needs to work a little bit more on his finishing. He's admitted that he just doesn't quite have the feel for the puck around the net like he did before the surgeries. But if the fact that he's now winning faceoffs a ton is any indication, this stuff can come back. Basically everything else in his game is back. He's dominating at 5-on-5. The Flyers are kicking ass whenever he's on the ice, control and play. He's going up against guys like Connor McDavid and shutting them down. He's going up against basically every top forward the other team has, shutting them down. Like, there's a reason why the Flyers are one of the only teams that's been able to take apart Vancouver. You know why? Because they are a top-heavy team that leans on their stars, and the Flyers have Sean Couturier, who could shut down stars. Not everybody has a Sean Couturier. Like, to me, Sean Couturier is very much, and I think Barkov is going to win it because he's having a monster year by the numbers and by the eye test on a really good Florida team. But Couturier should absolutely be in the, nomination mix for the Selke. And for him to be doing that after missing a season and a half and having 2 back surgeries, it's wild to me.
I'm looking forward to seeing Patrice Bergeron get a vote or 2.
just to give it to him.
Yeah, just a lot of people don't watch. And they're like, oh, yeah.
Just rename the award the Patrice Bergeron.
Yeah, really. A couple more guys. Scott Lawton, 42 games played this year. He's at 18 points, only 3 goals, coming off an 18-goal season last year. 15-21 average time on ice. He's bounced around the lineup a little bit. We saw him demoted to the 4th line at one point, giving way to Ryan Poehling. I like Scott Lawton a lot. The rumors are they could have got a first-round pick for him this summer. A lot of people believe they failed to sell high on Scott Lawton, and he's not having quite the same season he had last year. What do you think about the de facto captain through half the season?
Well, I think it's worth noting, if you're bringing up the point totals, that doesn't even worry me all that much because last year he averaged 18 minutes a night. This year he's averaging 15 minutes a night. Three fewer minutes a game is going to impact your point totals. To me, my big concern with Lawton and why I think his year has been disappointing, good things are not happening when he's on the ice. This is a guy who, and one of the reasons why I've been a long-time supporter of Lawton as a guy who on a great team is a 4th liner, but on a good team can be a middle sixer. His underlying metrics have always been good. He's not great, but good. He's consistently helped his team control play, probably in the, plus, I think he was usually somewhere in the 50th to 70th percentile in terms of impact on expected goal differential at even strength, which is good. It's not great, but it's good. and it's a perfectly acceptable middle six value type of guy. This year, the Flyers have gotten crushed when he's been on the ice. And that's scary because part of Lawton's thing is he makes the guys around him better. This year, he's made the guys around him worse. Like his expected goals for percentage is 45%, which would be, I believe, a career low. His goals for percentage, when he's on the ice, the Flyers have only generated 37% of the goals. I want to get the exact total of his goal differential. The Flyers have been outscored 27-16 with Scott Lawton on the ice at 5-on-5 this year. That's not good, especially because it's not like he's facing off against top lines. Like he is mostly being used as a bottom sixer, and the Flyers are getting kind of taken to the cleaners when he's been on the ice. I still think Scott Lawton can bounce back. I think he can have a strong second half, but this first half has undoubtedly been a disappointment, even accounting for the fact that he's gotten less ice time as we expected because Sean Couturier is back, Cam Atkinson's back,
than they did
Tyson Forrester, Bobby Brink are on the team. Like this was going to happen, but what wasn't necessarily going to happen was this dip in the underlying quality of his play, and that's been real.
Last guy I want to talk about tonight is Cam York, 23 years old. He's played every game this year, 14 points. He's playing over 22 minutes a game. He was on the top pair for basically the entire season until he gave way to Jamie Drysdale. He's back up there tonight with Drysdale out of the lineup. I think his offensive output has been a little underwhelming for me, but he's been pretty damn good, like just as a steadying force behind, Travis Sanheim, who's clearly taken a step and been, safe is death.
Yeah.
Kind of like, all right, but we're going to need someone back there. Like Cam York, I think, has found a nice niche for himself on this current team, but how would you say he's done overall in these first 43 games?
I'd like to see more offensively from him. I think everybody would, but I've really liked his commitment to defense. He is a much better defensive defenseman than I ever thought he could become. That said, he's a much worse offensive defenseman than I thought he was going to be. Hopefully that comes around. But what I've liked about what he's done this year is that he was a guy who I looked at for years when he was a prospect that, like, he needs to be an offense guy if he's going to be a good NHLer. What he's showing is he can be a quality NHLer even if the offense doesn't come around. And if the offense does come around at some point, like he's only 23, I believe. I think he's 23 now. If the offense comes around, suddenly you have a really, really good defenseman. But even if it doesn't, you still have a solid top four defenseman. So I wouldn't say I'm ecstatic with Cam York's first half, but there's enough good things going on that I can say I'm relatively satisfied with this first half. Curious what your thoughts are.
No, I think relatively satisfied is a great way to put it. Just based on the expectation, and like draft day expectations are never fair because like, oh, we got this guy, he's going to be a star. Boom. And like, we'll always compare him like, oh, you know who scores a lot? Cole Caulfield. Yeah. But I would say, yeah, like he's maybe not the offensive threat I expected him to be, but overall, like where he's going to fit into this lineup when the team is good, he's about, second pair decent defenseman.
Yeah.
Like that's whether he scores or he's a more steady defensive-oriented guy who can make a nice outlet pass for you but doesn't do a ton once you get into the offensive zone. Regardless of what his actual role is, he seems to be slotting in exactly where I expected him to.
And it's worth noting, too, that he's not getting easy assignments this year. He's
been on the top pair.
They're giving him 22 minutes a night, and he's playing against top lines. I would be interested to see, if let's say Drysdale becomes the top pair defenseman that he has the talent to become, and let's say Travis Sanheim forms a long-term pairing with Drysdale, and they are your top pair. I'd be interested to see if Cam York could produce more offense in slightly less difficult minutes. I don't know if he can, but I would be intrigued if one of the reasons why maybe he's struggling to score is because they've given him maybe a role that he's not quite ideally suited for. And if you move him into a more comfortable role and more of a clear second pair role, if maybe he takes more risks offensively, if he can prove to be more of a point producer in a role that is better suited for him.
And I think like with what the team is doing overachieving overall this year and having guys maybe play a step above where they should be slotted for a lot of, like, that's going to pay dividends down the road. When they do have a legit top four and you have, York is a 3 or 4 defenseman, and he's suited to play, like he's used to playing 22 plus minutes, like that's only going to be a good thing. Like when someone gets hurt, he can step up. He knows what he's doing. And like he's just used, he's usually up against first lines and now he's up against third lines. Like that's all going to pay dividends down the line, even if right now it's like he's been good but a little underwhelming. So like I'm optimistic, even if I'm like he's been fine, not great.
Okay. Gotta throw this to the comment section here before we end the show. We have a request by multiple people. Bill Matz, will you wear the dog mask?
Yeah.
After wins.
Yeah, I'll start
right now.
I'll put it on right now.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yes.
I did not know what was under there. That was really weird. Oh, this is.
There we go.
I had a.
Get in the camera view.
There are not eye holes in here. Where's the mic?
There we go. Love it. All right, you can take it off now.
It is not cool in there.
I can imagine.
It's a little warm. All right. And that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers tonight.
Oh, man.
That we are presented by Mortgage CS. Check out mortgagecs.com/PHLY to start your home buying process today. Company NMLS ID number 1464766. Mortgage CS. We have had a lot of conversations with their representatives. Obviously, I tell you every show, give a call or text to CEO Ben Stucker, number right there on the screen. If you're listening on pod, it's 267-391-7425. Whether you're just starting the home buying process, whether you're in the middle of it and you're like, I'm just not sure if I'm doing the right thing, they are there for you 24/7. The CS and Mortgage CS stands for concierge service, because that's exactly what they provide. They think of themselves as a white glove service. They're here for you, customer service 24/7, all of your needs. And that's huge, because I tell you, Charlie and I have both bought homes. You know, it's not fun buying homes. You don't know what you're doing. You're signing away the next 30 years of your life. You have no idea what any of these contracts mean. They are here to help you. I can't recommend them enough. Having met with these guys, listen, you hear these advertisements for companies like this on all sorts of podcasts, and you're like, I don't know, can I trust this? I'm not a good judge of many things. I'm a pretty good judge of character. I really liked Ben and Alex, the dudes we've met from Mortgage CS. They're great, and they're huge Philly sports fans. Who do you want to deal with other than Philly sports fans? I know I don't really have anyone other than that in my life. You don't even have to get a mortgage from someone who's not a Philly. You're like, oh, a Dallas fan? No, I don't think I'm going to sign. I don't think I'm going to sign with you, dog.
Can't trust them.
No, absolutely not. And remember, this advertisement is not a commitment to lend or extend credit. Mortgage CS is an equal housing opportunity mortgage broker. All loans are subject to credit approval. Certain restrictions may apply. Company NMLS ID number 1464766. Visit mortgagecs.com for more information. All right, that will actually do it for us now. I am really thrown off since putting on that dog mask. But thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging out. My name is Bill Matz for Charlie O'Connor. Go Birds.